Okabe has just found out that his landlord, Brown, is a CERN spy that was planning on killing him and all his friends. Now, Brown is the sweetheart that banters just about every day with Okabe. They're close friends, so this is shattering stuff. But then something remarkable happens. Brown explains why he did it in this monologue that literally defines Steins Gate with a single scene. This is what he says. Ever sleep in a manhole in the middle of winter? I was still a kid. The concrete was so cold that it sipped into my bones, and when I lay down, the rats came. They thought I was dead and came to eat me. But then I saw a thread as thin as a spider's web descend. I had no choice but to climb it. Even if by the top I'd end up dirtying my hands, I kept climbing that thread. You called me a dog, didn't you, Okabe? I'm worse than a dog. I'm cattle. Brown then shoots himself in the head. But right before he's about to do it, Okabe begs him not to. He pleads for the man that wanted to take his and his friends' lives. This whole scene stuck with me for a while until I realized that it wasn't Brown that explained himself, but rather Steins Gate that explained itself through him. At first we think that Brown is this monster. And of course, so does Okabe. But then Brown's monologue opens our eyes to the reality of the world. It's this one line in that monologue that especially reveals it. I'm worse than a dog. I'm cattle. Cattle. That's what every character in Steins Gate is. Okabe stood there stunned and broken by Brown's death, not just because he lost a friend, but because he finally understood fate. Brown not grabbing that spider's thread of false hope was impossible. He and everyone has to grab it, and wherever it takes you, you comply because to fate, you're cattle. To truly understand this cattle hypothesis, you have to juxtapose cattle to the characters in Steins Gate. Cattle are put in a pen, fed, taken care of, and then when the time comes, they're slaughtered for meat. Now let's look at Steins Gate with this in mind. Fate organizes people into pens. This isn't a matter of choice, it's a matter of being born and being put in your place. It's inevitable. Fate then feeds you your life. That life molds you into whatever it wants you to be. You see, Brown didn't have a choice but to work for CERN. It was CERN or the rats. And then it became CERN or his daughter being taken away from him. Not much of a choice, is it? What's more is that fate is relentless. It will forcefully feed you a life of its choosing and drag you into your destiny. Just like cattle are fed for the destiny of beefsteak. Brawn is cattle, but so is everyone else. So then, here's the point. Steins Gate is an anime about victims of inevitability. We know that fate is inevitable because it kept killing Mayuri. No matter what Okabe did, Mayuri died at the same exact time, every single time. So in that same way, people's lives in Steins Gate are set in stone. And so the conclusion is simple. Fate creates its own heroes and its own villains. It's fate that gave Moeka a life that prepared her for a destiny of evil. It's fate that threw Braun into that manhole filled with rats. It's also fate that made Kurisa's father hate her. You might think it's not, but what if we look into his life just as we looked into Brown's life? What we'd find is a life that prepared him to hate his daughter and inevitably try to kill her. He's a victim every bit as much as Kurisa is. I mean, isn't Kurisa the mother of time machines and alternate world lines? She's literally the mother of dystopia. If we can sympathize with her, we can sympathize with her father, just as we and Okabe sympathized with Brown. So, do you see it? It's not CERN that shaped the world into a dystopia, but fate itself. Okabe's enemy isn't CERN. His enemy is fate. But Okabe beats it in the end. He defies it and finds a way. He even builds a time machine and sends Suzu with a message to his past self. I mean, he takes his full time and works out a way to beat it. So if Okabe disagrees with the life that he's been fed, he can challenge it infinitely. But wait a minute. One has to wonder. Isn't fate what gives everyone their lives? Lives that prepare them for a destiny. So then, doesn't that mean that fate gave Okabe a life that prepared him to defy it? Does Okabe really even beat fate, or is he just simply its instrument? I think what fate in Steins Gate really is a mindless mathematical equation. An indifferent principle of reality that can be broken down, understood, and manipulated just as we have with physics and chemistry. This equation is writing itself towards an unforeseeable conclusion. Steins Gate is at a stage of the equation where time travel has been introduced to humanity. In some cases, the stage of the equation leads to a dystopia, as we see with multiple world lines. In other cases, such as Okabe's, the possibility of a utopia, a reality which has humanity entering an age where it can free itself from the cattle pen by editing the equation of fate and creating a world where humans have a say in what happens.